think. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Okay, so it's been a minute. I took an algorithms course this past semester, so I feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more capable of solving these problems. I learned a lot about, I had like a pretty solid review of data structures, so I'm going to attempt to do one of these. I'm going to be trying to do one of these, I want to say every day, and I'm just going to be doing easy for right now. I know I would like to try to tackle a medium one, but I kind of want to get used to speaking while I do these, make myself a little bit more comfortable. I did beforehand, making sure it was something I was able to do, so I don't spend a lot of time studying, a lot of time struggling. So right now I'm just trying to get into that momentum of posting and giving you guys something to watch. So here, this problem, I know my cam covers most of it, so okay, I have no idea what just happened. I just lost connection. But going back to what I was talking about, this problem, I'm going to be solving, converting a Roman numeral into its decimal value. So I was saying that, for example, this value here is 27. It's pretty simple. 20 plus 5 plus 2 is 27. But there are some exceptions, such as if a less valued Roman numeral is placed before a higher valued one. So in this case, this is the simplest example, IV. So if you just added these together, it'd be 6. It's a 1 and a 5. But the way Roman numerals work is if a less value is placed in front of a greater value, the output will be a subtraction. So it'll be 5 minus the 1. It's giving us 4. Here's another one. 10 minus 1 is going to be 9. So in some situations, let's see, I'm going to be writing on the right hand side. In some situations, people do this. So that technically equals 3. But based on this problem, I think that this is not going to be a thing like that. It's going to be something like this instead. So I only have to worry about one value in front of a greater value. So I should only be subtracting 1 instead of having to add these two together and then subtracting, which would be a little bit more difficult to do since I would have to maybe keep track of like how many lesser values in front, maybe keep track of like a stack or a cube, something of that sort. But since it's only 1, I think the best way to do this is to iterate through the array in reverse. And I'll kind of give you a little example in a second. But for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert these values into a dictionary. So I'm going to call it Roman dec, which stands for Roman decimal. And then I'll add these. So I got and then we'll do 1 v5. Sorry. Like, it's been a minute since I've done one of these, to be honest. Talking and programming is a little bit difficult, I'm not gonna lie, but you're not gonna get better unless you practice. Roman numerals are pretty interesting. I actually haven't worked with them quite a while. I used to have a clock that did things in terms of Roman numerals, but I think has long since been out of battery. I think I still have it somewhere, to be honest, but just haven't used it. Okay, so I created my dictionary, and then we'll create a variable that's going to keep track of the total sum, and that should be pretty much it. I guess we'll run into things as we go. So we'll make a for loop for I in range. Since we're going to iterate through the list backwards, we'll start with, usually I like to have a variable for the length of the string. Okay, so we'll keep that variable there. So it's going to have something here, and then it's going to be iterating by -1. So we don't want to start at the end, so -1, and then we'll end at -1. Since this isn't 0 because it's exclusive, not inclusive. So if I had put 0 here, it would stop at index 1. So since I put -1, it's going to stop at index 0, which is what we want. We want to iterate through the whole list. And we're subtracting length by -1 because we're iterating through the indices. And since the length is outside of the array indices, since we started at 0, that's why that's like that. So the way I'm thinking about doing this is we're gonna have a check. We're gonna have a check. So first, the current value is gonna be equal to the Roman decimal of I. So this gets that key in, or sorry, not I. It's gonna be S of I. Almost messed that up. So this is gonna take the current letter, so whatever that is, and it's gonna take that key value and it's gonna return this value, and that's gonna be the current value, right? So if the current value is it less than or greater than? I think it's gotta be less than S of I. So since we're iterating backwards, we're going to do S of I plus 1. But we got to do that inside of the dictionary, right? So we can get the actual value of that Roman numeral. Or else this would just give us the I or the V. So we'll get that. And then we'll do, if this is the case, then it'll be total. So if that is the situation, that means that we're going to subtract, since the value before, since we're iterating backwards, in the case that a number of less value comes before a number of greater value, we're subtracting. So the total is going to be minus equals to the current value. And then else, it's going to be total, we're going to add the current value. Okay, so something I did just think of, let me make sure to write this, return total. Okay, so something I did just think of is, since we're looking at the previous value, we're iterating backwards, but we're looking at the previous one, we got to start not at the very last value, but the one that's second to last. So in this case, we'll change our parameters here. We're going to change that to -2. So we start at the second to last value. And then the total, we'll just initialize to S of I. So we'll initialize it to that. That'll be our first value. So in that case, we're always adding it. You know, that last value is always going to be added onto there. So then the rest of this is going to be calculated. Okay, so let's see our test values. So this should result in a 3. So if we trace this, so it's going to be right at the top here. I always like to trace one instance of it before I run it. So we have I. So it's going to be 1, 1, 1. So the length is going to be 3. The original total is going to be 1. And -2, so we're going to start at this value. We have this value already in here. Actually, this is wrong. We want to put the last one. Yeah, so it's going to be like that. So we're going to start, we have this value already added in there, right? So we're going to be starting here with this value I. And we're going to be going backwards, right? So the current value is going to be 1. Current is not less than